Hey there folks, this is Josh, Stoney Ridge Farmer. Welcome back to another awesome day here in the mega shop on the Stoney Ridge Farm, and it's chainsaw maintenance day. As you can tell, I've got most of my chainsaws and pole saws all set out here on the table, and today we're going to show you guys the best way that I have found so far to sharpen a chainsaw. Hope you enjoy the video. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Let's get busy.
I ain't afraid of work, I ain't afraid of play, I ain't afraid to get the job done and do it my own damn way. I ain't afraid of life, times like this. If you mess with my freedom, I'll tell you just what you can kiss. That's right.
Folks, welcome to the Stoney Ridge Farm channel. If this is your first time or your 50 millionth time here, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. It's an awesome time here. We're on a 150-acre first-generation farm project, and we are inside the mega shop. Lots of cool shop stuff to come. We've got an old Bronco over here. We've got all kinds of stuff, but it's firewood season here on the Stoney Ridge Farm. Now, I know you purists think firewood season is all year round, but I live here in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains in North Carolina, and it's hot in the summertime, and I don't get out and cut firewood when it's 100 degrees with 100% humidity. I just don't do it. I get out in the wintertime and cut the firewood this season for next winter's burning. So, without further ado, we've got a ton of different chainsaws here. You guys are going to get a little chainsaw tour as well as a how-to sharpen your chainsaw. And we're just going to work on one saw, but we're going to show you a cool chainsaw sharpener. So let's get down to business. We're going to walk you around each one of these saws, and then we'll put you on the Husqvarna. That's the first one I'm going to sharpen, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So guys, before we get started with today's video, I want to give a quick shout out to AG1 from Athletic Greens. That is today's day sponsor here on the Stoney Ridge Farm channel. You can tell there's not much left in this bag because this is something that I use every single day. In case you don't know, I recently lost nearly 85 pounds here on the farm. Now, I didn't do that by not exercising, and I didn't do it by not having the proper diet. AG1 has been an instrumental part of my weight loss program, and this is how I get my greens without eating a massive amount of greens. So if you're on a low-carb diet or Atkins diet or just any sort of diet where you're not eating a lot, you're not going to get all your vitamins and minerals without something like Athletic Greens. So AG1 from Athletic Greens is something that I incorporate into my meal plan daily. This is what I use for my vitamins. This is what I use for my greens. So AG1 from Athletic Greens is more than just a powder mix. You take one scoop, you put it in here, you put 8 ounces of water, you shake it up, and you're good to go. That's your vitamins, minerals, and probiotics for the day, guys. I, again, incorporated this into my diet plan here on the Stoney Ridge Farm. I dropped 85 pounds. Not to say that that's due 100% to AG1, but it is due to a lifestyle change. And this has been part of my lifestyle change here. It's more than just a supplement to me, and I'm not a pill taker. In other words, I don't like taking those great big horse pill multivitamin pills. I just don't like to take those. So I use this instead. It helps me get my greens, and it helps me to not have to take those big pills. There'll be a link down in the video description to athleticgreens.com/Stoney Ridge Farmer, guys, if you want to pick some up. Now, let's get busy with the chainsaws. So without further ado, let's give you the chainsaw tour, and stick around to the end. I'll show you the vintage saw that I have over here. It's really, really cool. So on the table here, our go-to chainsaws on the Stoney Ridge Farm are the Stihl MS661. When I've got big jobs, big trees to cut, this has the long 23-inch bar, which is really handy for a tall guy. I really, really love this saw. If you don't want to get one that's that big, the 661, the 462 is an awesome alternative, and it's a little bit smaller of a saw, a little bit lighter and easier to use in an all-day scenario. This is a sharpening tool we're going to be using, and you can see that I wrote on here which sharpener works with which saw. So this is the 660, the 460, and the 572 XP, and this is the MS170 right here. So the MS170 is right over here. That's another Stihl chainsaw, MS170. Great homeowner grade saw. If you don't cut very much wood, maybe 2 or 3 loads a year, this is all you really need. Or something like this. This is a Toro electric chainsaw right here, and we're doing a little bit of testing with the Toro saw and with the stihl electric saw, and you can see back there we have the Toro electric pole saw. I'll post a link to that at the end of this video. I did a full-on review of that critter. This is the Stihl MS-140C. This is, again, another electric chainsaw. This one and the stihl electric chainsaw, which I have not tested yet, are the 3 electric chainsaws that I have here. Now, we've also got this Prunarbo. This is a little limbing saw, pretty cool, little handheld limbing saw. I already sharpened that critter, and I also wanted to show you guys the coolest gas tank ever for that chainsaw guy. This is the best gift idea. Even if it's after Christmas or birthday or whatever, get this for that chainsaw person that you love in your family. This is awesome. I'm going to post a link to this in the video description. Also, links to all the other saws you could buy on Amazon, and links to these right here. This is a chainsaw gas can with a built-in toolbox. It's a brand new one. I just bought my second one so that I'd have 2 to grab and go. It has a built-in toolbox over here on the other side. It has places for your files. It has places for your scrunch, for your chainsaw tool, and you put your bar oil in here and your mixed gas in here. It's from Husqvarna. This is not sponsored. None of this is sponsored stuff, but this is something that I use every single time I go in the woods, and now I don't have to take my chainsaw toolbox. This serves as my toolbox and my fuel box. That is a must-have item. Let's show you how to sharpen the chain. So first of all, I think it's important for you guys to know the parts of your chainsaw chain. So this is the top plate right here. That little piece right there is the top plate. That's also known as the tooth. This is the corner right in here, okay? This is the depth gauge, or also known as the raker, right there. Okay, and this is the gullet, that part right in there. So what we're going to be doing is sharpening in the gullet right here. And this chain is still pretty sharp. You can see it's shaving off a little bit of this metal rod that I have. So those are the parts that you need to know about. These are just links that hold everything together, but this piece right here is called the tooth. That's the corner. That's the gullet. That is the raker or depth gauge, and that's what you need to know. Now, first thing we're going to do is we're going to mark this tooth as our first tooth that we've sharpened. Now, you can mark this tooth with a Sharpie, just like this. Just color it in black. But if it's really hard to see, I prefer using a lumber crayon. So you take your lumber crayon right there, and you just kind of mark it up a little bit, mar it up, and that way you can see red. Clearly, that's going to be where we stop. As we rotate around and we sharpen this, we know when we get there, that's where we stop. Now, let's talk about the magic that happens with this all-in-one chainsaw sharpener. So, in this chainsaw sharpener, we have 2 files, round files. There's one there, and there's one here, and you can tell I've been using this, okay? The files only cut in one direction. There is an arrow right here that you can see. That is the direction of cut. That also establishes our angle of cut, okay? If you look at the top of each one of these teeth, you'll notice there's a little mark that shows the angle of cut, okay? So we're cutting in this direction. This one happens to be a 3/8 pitch, 5.2 millimeter. That's what it is, okay? Go to your local stihl dealer, or you can look it up on the internet and find out which one you need for which saw you have. Now, we're gonna start at the tooth that's right behind the one that's marked. And there is also a flat file here and a couple guides. These guides sit in place right there, and they ride right on the top of that tooth, okay? So you can see one guide's riding on the top of this tooth, that guide, and the other guide is riding on the top of this tooth. We're riding on the top of the teeth so that we get the perfect cut every single time, and that is the trouble with sharpening a chainsaw with a standard file. Let me show you a standard file real quick. So a guy can do that, no problem. With a standard file, he can do this just like that. That's just fine, but we don't address the raker right here. So as we dig the gullet out, which is right in here, our raker needs to come down just a little bit more too. That makes your cut just a little more aggressive, and that's what the flat file is doing, is catching that raker and taking it down to the appropriate cutting depth, okay? So instead of struggle busing with this guy right here and not getting every one of them just perfect, and when you cut with your saw, it will tend to walk. In other words, it won't cut straight down, it will cut and it'll turn. It'll turn this way, it'll turn that way. So if you've ever used a chainsaw and when you got into the wood, it turned this way or that way, it's because you weren't consistent with your sharpening. Now, the same principles apply to this. You want to do the same number of cuts on each tooth. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to start with this tooth. Again, we've got one metal bar resting on here, another metal bar resting on there, so we get our perfect angle of cut. There are also little index cuts in here to help you along, so you can make sure that you maintain that perfect angle. We are going to hit this probably with 3 swipes. 1, 2, 3. Okay, check our tooth. Seems pretty darn good. You noticed when I cut, I pushed, I lifted, I pushed, I lifted. You don't want to back drag because you can flatten out the teeth on your file. So you don't want to go, you just want to cut. We're going to do one more cut. We'll do 4 on each one. That's it, okay? Nice, nice and sharp. Cut this direction, lift up ever so slightly and bring it back. So here's our red tooth right up here. First tooth, second tooth. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to check it. Oh, daddy, looking good. Tooth 1, tooth 2, red mark right up here. Now we're on to tooth number 3. You don't have to think about all this, but I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. Rotate. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, let's talk advanced. The flat file is hitting the top of the Raker right here and taking it down ever so slightly. Watch again. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're down in the gullet of that tooth, and we're taking about a fraction of a millimeter off of the Raker. The lower you cut that Raker, the more aggressive your chainsaw will cut. If you happen to file that down, sharpening the standard way, what you're going to run into is your saw will cut too aggressively and it will bog. 3, 4. You can sharpen a 23-inch bar in 4 minutes. So we're all the way back around. Now we're going to rotate the saw. We'll work it the other direction. Now you might be saying, well, Stoney Ridge Farmer, this ain't rocket science. Never said it was. It's super easy, guys. That's what it's all about. The rocket science portion is going the old school way, using the file. Now, there is a fine art to sharpening a chainsaw with a file like this. Mastering that art is super cool. I love it. I love the feeling, but I also know that when I'm cutting with a standard file like this and my hand slips off, I'm gonna cut myself. So I've got to wear some really, really heavy duty leather gloves. As you can see, I probably should be wearing gloves and eye protection here. However, I'm not. And as I sharpen right here, I don't run the risk of cutting myself as much because I have a good grip on my file. So it ain't rocket science, guys. It's just the best sharpener on the market. It's the best one I can find. I will post links down in the video description to this critter. What it does is it takes something that can be an arduous, dreadful task that you would take your chain off and take it to a store and have it sharpened for about $5. Or you could do it in your own garage in 20 minutes and just be done with it. I take this out in the field with me. If I nick a rock or something like that, boom, I hit it real quick, give it a couple swipes through each tooth, and I'm good to go and I'm back cutting. That's what this is all about, guys. Saving time, being smart, working smarter, and not working harder. Working smarter and getting the job done. So I'm gonna finish up this saw. That's how you do it. With the rest of the saws, we'll do the same exact thing. You need a good vise. If you can't find a good vise, I'll post a link to one down in the video description. You do need a good vise to hold your saw firmly. However, you don't have to grind on it so hard that you pull it out of the vise. You can do this while it's sitting on the ground, in the pasture, in the field, in the woods, where you're working, guys. Thank you all so very much for joining me here on the Stoney Ridge Farm. This is the most simple way that I have found, and easiest, most effective way to sharpen a chainsaw chain. Stay tuned to some future videos. We're going to try out some other contraptions to see if they work any better than this chainsaw sharpener. Again, this is from Stihl, and it cost about 50 bucks. Thanks, guys. Take care. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching the Stoney Ridge Farm channel. Woo!
Well, come on down to the Stoney Ridge. Bring your wife and bring your kids. We're living life pure and sweet. That's the way it's supposed to be, Stoney Ridge. Woo!
Stoney Ridge, another beautiful day. It's hard to say that today. Smorgasbord. Shadow on my face, shadow on my face. Oh, I'm getting smarter. Lost it. Do it again. Smile, smile, smile. Okay, here we go. Ooh, baby, baby. Baby, baby. Parts of a chainsaw. Parts of a chainsaw. Parts of a chainsaw. Parts of a chainsaw. File, so you don't want to go. I show you how to do it. So you stuck around to the end. Let's go over here and we'll show you the vintage saw. Inside this case lies a 35-year-old Husqvarna Model 50. Man, she's a good-looking girl right there. This is the oldest saw that I have, guys. Still runs like a top. Husqvarna 50, made in Sweden. Awesome.